Before I get to our panel, I'm sure they'll have strong views on this. In politics, it's sometimes what you don't do as a leader as opposed to what you actually do that matters. Now, there was a major announcement made in Canberra today on one of the hottest issues in Australia, and that's the level of migration. Poll after poll, talkback radio caller after talkback caller, letter writer after letter writer of the papers has made it very clear Australians believe we're allowing too many migrants into our country. Now, this is a nuanced argument, and it's not, as I have often been in the past, a question of around where migrants come from, although I believe we still need to have a tougher discussion about that. No, this time it is a numbers question. Now, I'll get to the detail and the debate around the big question in a sec, but I want to first talk about the politics of this. Senator Pauline Hanson, as I've already said, will join us later, but a simple question on the politics, the optics, if you like, of what happened today. At the biggest announcement of a major change to the way we deal with migration, certainly since COVID, when the border shut, and probably before that, the famous John Howard quote on "we will decide who comes to this country and how they get here." That was, of course, in response to Tampa and boat people. But I can't believe that today these changes were left to be announced by two Labor ministers, Clare O'Neill, the Home Affairs Minister, and Andrew Giles, the Immigration Minister. Have a look.
We are going to make sure that we bring numbers back under control, that we build a better planned system around essential things like housing, and perhaps most importantly of all, that we build a program that delivers for the national interest.
One that is good for workers because it's good for wages, good for business and good for Australia, operating in our national interest, enabling us to meet our challenges and seize the opportunities of the future.
Now, surely the Labor government's playing some kind of bizarre hoax on the Australian people. Either that or these two are not long for this world and this was a way to ease them out gracefully. I mean, how else can you explain how two people who were single-handedly responsible for the chaotic and, for many, traumatic release of 148 detainees, including rapists, wife bashers, pedophiles, druggies, you name it, and you allow them to stand up today to announce we're tightening up immigration regulations and cutting numbers? You've got to be joking. They shouldn't be running the Parliament House canteen, let alone getting their hands on anything to do with immigrants. O'Neill and Giles should be on the backbench after their dangerously ham-fisted handling of the High Court decision. Worse, in my view, for Labor and the increasingly collapse of any public trust the Albanese government still has, is my question, where was the Prime Minister? Now, surely this was a big enough issue that he could have delayed what has been reported today to be a holiday for a day or two to stand with his embattled ministers to make an announcement of this importance. Sure, he was out vaguely talking about the changes on Saturday, but it was Saturday and no one noticed. And given how many weeks he has spent outside the country and the delight he and his colleagues had bagging Scott Morrison over his Hawaii in the middle of a bushfire crisis, surely his advisors would be saying, look, PM, this is a big change. Cutting migration down from an absurd number of 700,000 in 2 years to less than half or so, they claim. But no, the Prime Minister and his fluffy white dog were nowhere to be seen. OK, so the bloke might need a breather. Everyone needs a holiday. But he should at least come back with some sort of plan, I guess, on cost of living. But he wasn't there. And neither was the acting Prime Minister, the hapless Richard Marles. He was missing in action also. And given the economic importance on immigration, maybe even the Treasurer Jim Chalmers could have turned up. But no, it was these two. It doesn't fill any Australians worried about borders and asylum seekers and refugee numbers any reason for confidence, does it? It says to me, maybe these two will pay a price down the track for the worst lapse in detention politics since Kevin Rudd lost control of our borders.